Hey, how's it going guys? My name's Daniel, aka HashLips, and welcome back to this channel where I teach you about code, do code reviews of this program that we've written, and the program that we're going to look at today is the HashLips Art Engine, this one over here. If you want to follow along with these videos and want to see how you can actually implement this art engine and produce thousands of artworks simply by providing this program a few layers, you can go ahead and watch this purple collection over here. In this collection, each one of these videos are numbered for a reason. The reason I've numbered them is because they correspond to the kind of releases that we've done in the HashLips Art Engine. So, if you find that a video mismatches with what you see, but only on this repo, you can go to that purple collection, click on releases here on the right hand side, and find the release that I'm talking about over here. If you scroll down onto releases, there it just load, there you go. The reason why this is important is because each update, we update the physical code. It might have breaking changes, but it will always have awesome things on each update, which you may want to use. And that's why I'm separating them. And also, as we come up with great suggestions from the communities, I must say the community in Discord has been busy and they've given me great suggestions, and I've added a few. So let's get down and let's see what the new changes are on version 1.0.6. Let's go down and let's go into the assets folder. So once you've clicked on the releases page, you can go and simply download this zip folder. Perfect. While that's busy downloading, I just want to go to the repo and explain to the people who are new. This engine is simply an engine that can take a bunch of layers and turn them into images. That's all it does. But it's very powerful if you use your artistic skill and a bit of thought on how do you construct different layers, because in that in itself you can create amazing artworks that no one has. The program is very simple, and that's why I suggest watching all those tutorials from the start. But in this tutorial, I'm going to run the collection, I'm going to show you how to use the program, and I'm going to talk about the updates. So let's get going. Once this is done downloading, I'll resume. Just on a side note, for the people who are already used to this program and don't want to see the installation process, and I'm going to explain the true power of the terminal and how it works with the IDE, then skip ahead 14 minutes to just see the updates. Once you have downloaded the repo or have cloned it onto your machine, you can go ahead and install Node.js, which is this program that you're going to need, and just simply follow the installation steps for your operating machine. Then we can also go and install an IDE. I have installed Visual Studio Code, and the reason for that is because I love Visual Studio Code. It's a nice IDE. But in this video, I'm going to show you that you don't even need an IDE. I just want to bring out a concept that I haven't talked about, and a lot of people have questions and they think you need an IDE, a text editor, a code editor program to do this, and you simply don't. So how can I show you that you do not need this program? Well, for a brief second, I'm just going to go onto the HashLips page to show you that there's my zip at the bottom. I'm going to drag it onto my computer. Then I'm going to open this folder. So after you have extracted the HashLips Art Engine, this is how it will look. Now, my folder is sitting on the desktop and I've extracted it there. All right. And how would I say you don't need an IDE? Well, let me explain. Code simply exists or consists rather of folders and files. And these folders and files have certain scripts in them that can execute if you are running the Node.js engine. So you need Node.js installed, but you simply don't need an IDE to run this program. You can do everything that I show you from the terminal. Let me show you this. If I go ahead and open a new terminal, this is a terminal. It is basically a command prompt in Windows is the same. So I'm going to just reorder these quickly so that we have a nice layout. There you can see the folder on the left and the terminal here on the right. What I'm going to show you is how to go to this folder, which is sitting on the desktop. There it is. And how I can execute this program. So what you can do is you, on the terminal, type in CD for a Mac. Now, Windows will be different, so just follow along opening it in a text editor if you don't know, or an IDE if you don't know how to use the command prompt. But for Mac, you can type in CD, and then I'm going to CD into the desktop. So what does CD mean? CD means I'm going into that folder. Now you can see it says my name plus desktop. If I type the command ls, which lists whatever folders and files it sees in that directory, it's kind of like just going to a directory. Here you can see it's the same as me going to this folder now in the desktop basically. So here we can see all the different basically the different programs that I have, and for now I'm going to remove the zip of my machine like there, and then I'm going to run ls again, and you'll see that there's only this one now. There's not the zip file basically. Perfect. So now you can see directly this terminal is corresponding to what's happening in the folder structures, right? I can open it here, I can delete files and so on, I can make files. I just wanted you to understand that concept, and that's all, okay? Next, usually what I tell you to do is if we go to the repo over here, I tell people to go and install the dependencies. If you scroll down on the README file, you can see that I usually ask you to install the dependencies with either yarn or npm. For those people who don't have yarn or npm installed, they don't really need to, well, yarn especially, they don't really need to use yarn, but you do need to use npm. But npm comes automatically with Node if you installed Node.js, and that's why just follow the Node way and also the npm package manager. Alright, so next what we want to do is we want to go into this folder but on the terminal. We can do that by typing cd, telling it we want to go into this directory, and we can start off by typing the directory's name, which is HashLips Art Engine. So HashLips, and then you can press, I think it's tab for it to autocomplete if you don't want to type in everything. Once I hit enter, you can see that I'm now in the HashLips Art Engine folder. This is very important. This is where you need to run the commands. It's simply saying that I need to be inside this folder to be able to run the commands, and that's what a lot of people don't get. So I hope this is a bit more clear, because now you can go ahead and looking at the documentation that I've written, we can run either yarn install, but if I'm you, I'll stick to npm. So let's go and write npm install. Now, running npm install is the same as running npm I, just leaving I. This is the kind of shorthand method. So you can either run npm I or npm install. So just type that out and hit enter. You'll immediately start seeing that this node modules folder came onto this directory now. And yes, this is because Node makes a request to the outside world and goes and pulls in these Node modules, these dependencies, and it gets the list of dependencies based on what it sees in the package.json. All right, and that's just what I want to tell you guys so that you understand that what we are doing in a terminal, when I say open it in your IDE and type in these commands, you're basically just interacting on this root level with Node and installing dependencies and then running this index.js file. Let's wait for the dependencies to quickly install. It's done, and then we can run this program. In order to run this program, all you need to do is actually open the layers and put in your own layers there, And what you can do is you can simply make sure that each layer is correctly spelled with a hashtag and a weight. If you want all the layers to have the same weight and you don't want rarities, you can simply make them all the same number, such as 1 or 10. As long as they're the same, each one will have an equal weight. But if you do want rarities, you make some of them a bit higher and a bit lower. The lower the number they have, the lower the weight, means it's more rare. Alright, so once you have all your different layers inside this layers folder, you need to make sure, and this you can do by opening the source directory over here and opening the index.js. I'm going to open this with a normal text editor. You need to make sure that these layer orders over there that you have is exactly the same spelling as that you have here in the folders, because that's what it's going to look for. These orders don't have to be in the same order. You can order the layers as you want to. Keep in mind that the image will be created from the bottom layer all the way to the top. Alright, so it will first do this, then that, then this one, and so on. Everything here to me seems correct. And if you have put a growth edition size to -10, this is how many images it will create. Another concept that people didn't get is if you duplicate this layer order, you can do so and have two layer orders. You can simply take a layer out, you can maybe move a layer up, whatever you want to do. This will also be rendered, but after it's rendered these 10. Then if you want to render 20 artworks, you'll need to add 10 to this number over there. So you'll make this one 10, then this one 20 in order to render 20 images. It basically adds to the growth edition size before it. Alright, and that's how it works. If you want to add another 5 images and you don't want to use the same layers, so if you want to use the same layers, you can say 25. Or if you want 25 images of just that one layer configuration, you don't need this extra one, you can just simply make it 25 there. I just wanted to show you the different configurations that you have. Once you have saved your file, the config.js, and you're ready to run, you can basically close this. And in your terminal now, making sure that we are still in this folder path of the root, you can run node space index.js. If you run that command, basically this program goes and it opens this index.js file. And this is the program code that kicks off and starts building the collection. The very first time you run that command, the command prompt or the terminal might take a few seconds and then it will run. Here you can see that it has run and it's run successfully. A lot of people are concerned with these DNAs and they think it's errors. It's not an error. It's basically telling us that the program has found an identical DNA and it reruns and it creates a new image. You can see that it doesn't break because it has image 14, 15, and it found a few ones, and then 16, 17, 18 again. It just simply makes sure that you are rendering unique editions of your images. After this is successful, you'll see a new build folder on your machine and inside this directory. This build folder contains your images that you have created, and there they are. Beautiful. And then it also creates a JSON folder containing all the metadata. This big metadata file contains all the metadata of all the images, and it also creates single metadata files for each image and corresponding to the image in the images folder. So for instance, this is image 1 and you can see all the attributes. Perfect. I hope you guys got that and just see that you don't even need an IDE. But in this tutorial, I will be using IDE, and I just wanted to make this clear so that once someone watches this tutorial series, and thank you for sticking this far with me, then they understand what I'm doing. But let's go and look at the new updates of the version 1.0.6. All right, so now you can go and open a IDE because I want to see the folders that I'm working with. So what you can do is you can go and simply open, I have it here in recents, but I can click File, Open. I can go to my desktop and open that folder. Visual Studio might ask you if you want to trust it, and I just say yes. And then there is the folder structure that we have. And much like using the folders and the terminal, I can do the exact same in Visual Studio Code. The only difference is when I select a file, it already opens it here for me. If I select the configuration file, it's there for me and I can edit it. So it's very easy to use. So the next thing that you do, once you've opened your folder inside Visual Studio Code, there's a button here at the top called Terminal. You might not see it on my screen now, but there's a button called Terminal and you can say New Terminal. Once you have a new terminal running over there, you can run the exact same commands that we have. Especially if you haven't run it in the terminal before, you can do the exact same process, okay? But I already have Node modules installed and I don't need to run it, but I'm going to show you anyway. You can run npm install. Like I said, after it's installing everything, it sees I already have it, so that's perfectly fine. There is an update of npm, but we don't need to update. And then you can simply run node index.js. By running this, it creates the exact same program, and I hope you guys found the connection now to see that we are simply interacting on the root level of a folder. And by opening it in an IDE such as Visual Studio Code, it automatically updates and opens it on that root kind of directory, and the terminal will be automatically in that root directory like so. But there are the two ways that you can interact with this program and can open it and run it. Finally, let's get to the updates, because sorry for the detour. I just wanted to make it clear because I'm here to teach, and as long as you can learn something from my videos, I am grateful for that. So let's go to the updates. So let's see what is new. If you open the source file and go into the configs.js, you'll see that there is a new attribute and a variable called shuffle layer configurations. A lot of people have asked me that they don't want the layer configurations to render like this, and then if they have a new type of character, for instance, let's say they had some kind of alien or zombie type, and they decided to render maybe 10 of this first type with this layer configuration. And remember, these layers can have a lot more in here. You just have to name the ones that you want to use. And they have this one for the alien, let's say, was about another 10, so we need to make it 20. And then for the zombie, they only wanted to add another 5, so I'm going to leave this at 25. Remember, that's how you work it out. 10, then to 20 is another 10, to the next one is 5. For people who don't have different configurations or races or different characters that they want to render, or even different art types, you can just stick with one layer configuration and render your whole collection like that. But let's change these up a little bit. I only have these eyeballs to work with, so I'm going to maybe take out the eyeball for one of these things, and let's also take out the iris. This will create a weird looking image. For the zombie type, maybe we can put a blend mode on it. This is just also a feature that we have. And I'm going to make this blend mode. And if you want to have the list of the blend modes, they're all over here. I'm going to use color burn. Okay, so blend mode.color burn, maybe for that one. The bottom lid, I'm just going to simply get rid of, or maybe the top lid as well, I'm going to get rid of, and the background. So you can see that there's quite unique layer configurations over here. When I now am happy with my layer configurations and I render them, I'm going to type in node space index.js. When I render this, you can see that it renders from 1 to 25. And if I open the build folder now, there will be 25 images. You can see that the first 10 images are our usual, purple lids with the eyes, and it looks cool. But as soon as we go from 10 to 11, you'll see that this is now our alien eyes, right? Because we've changed the layers, we've taken some out, and it truly looks a bit crazy and scary actually. But then after this, our last 5 is going to be zombie. Like this, all right? They don't even have lids, okay? But the problem people were facing is that in the smart contract, it actually mints when people buys from 1 to 25. So in essence, that is a problem because people can go and see now, okay, I know that I will have all these races in the beginning, and then eventually it will go into an alien race and so on and so on. So people minting your NFTs will kind of know what to expect at any given time. But if we want to, not have that, we can simply now switch on this variable and make it true. It's false by default, but when you make this true, save your file, and let's run this collection again. In the terminal, press the up arrow to get to the previous command, or just type node space index.js and enter. We will now see that this layer configuration looks like it did the same thing, but it actually didn't. You can see that when the logs kicked off, the previous logs were all in chronological order, but now when we ran it again, we can see it started with 5, then 11, then 3, 1, 24, and it did render different ones. So that means if we now look at number 1, you will see that 1 is a normal one, 2 is a alien, and 3 is a normal one, then an alien, and then so on. There's a zombie. And this way, you have mixed up essentially all your layers. All right? And it still is in chronological order because a folder structure will always, list them from 1 to 25. But the content is different, as well as the metadata. If we look at number 2, we can see that in our layers, in our JSON file, number 2's JSON is indeed, the eye color is this green. But remember, the eye color is this green shape. And then let me go back to the image. There is this green, right? And if we go to 3, we can see that number 3 one, this one is cyan. And indeed 3 is the cyan. So it is still taking on consideration the metadata. So everything works exactly the same. You just now have the option to mix up your layer configurations. Perfect. So that's all that I wanted to show for that new feature. And I hope you guys are going to enjoy that one. The next layer configuration that I want to talk about is debug logs. Debug logs, if you put this variable to true, it will give you way more information when rendering a collection. It won't change anything. It just outputs in the terminal more information. Let's put that to true and then run node index.js again. And we will see that now we get a lot more information. Firstly, it says that when it creates the edition, it creates this array of how many images it's going to create. So it starts off by giving us the full list. In this list, you can see that it is now in different orders because we set that one to true. If we didn't have that, this will be all in chronological order. The next thing that it does is it clears the canvas and then it starts with the new one. So the first one is just a empty starting, but when it starts off, it first clears the canvas, shows us what additions it's going to make. In this case, it's going to make number 19 because it's the first in the list. There you can see writing metadata for 19. This is the metadata that it outputs, and there's the final line. So it keeps on doing this to show you a bit more of your information on your collection, basically. If I were to put this shuffle layer configurations back to false, and I ran the program again, I will see that it's running the program, but also it's now in chronological order. So if we go up to here, you can see 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. Each time it renders, it pops or actually shifts off the first item in the array. So you can see the array getting smaller and smaller and smaller as it creates those additions. So there it created 22, 23, 24, and lastly number 25. And that's just a little bit more extra logs. If you want to see the logs for some reason, it also looks very cool. Let's look at the last attribute that I've done and the update that is very, very cool for this version 1.0.6. Just on a side note, if you want to put the debug logs back to false and you don't want to see it, just simply put it to false. These configurations are there for a reason, that you can configure them how you want to use the program. You can save the program, and if you run it, it will just run normally like this. Next, and the last attribute that I want to talk about is this extra metadata field. If you look in the build folder and you look at any JSON file, we have the general metadata fields: DNA, name, description, ID, edition, dates, attributes, and so on. But let's say for some reason I want to actually go and update extra metadata on each file. I can do so by opening the brackets inside of this object and creating attributes. So basically you need to provide a key and a value. A key is not in string quotations, but the value is. Let me explain. If I wanted to put another attribute and call it creator, I can then say, I, Daniel, am the creator of this program, right? Or this image. Maybe I wanted another attribute for the artist. Okay. And for the artist, I might say this is maybe, I don't know, Joe. But in essence, I create these extra attributes, okay? Keep in mind that these attributes are the global attributes that will be on each file. So this is how you can add some. So if you have this set up correctly, and a good rule of thumb is to use lowercase for all these things apart from the values. They can be however you want them to be. Perfect. I'm going to save this and run the program again in the terminal. And this time I'm going to look at the JSON files. Now what you see is all the attributes like before, but you see this extra creator and artist field. How cool is that, guys? Anyway, if you did enjoy these updates, please leave a like on this video. Subscribe to this channel to see more of these updates, but also new coding tutorials. And I also just want to say thank you to the people who have subscribed. You guys are amazing. The community is amazing. For those of you who are struggling and really can't understand the code and need some extra help, please feel free to go and join our Discord channel. You will find the link in the description of this video, as well as our Telegram group if you prefer Telegram. Discord is very structured, and you'll see that there are normal chats for people who want to actually just generally talk about stuff and ask questions. There's a feature request channel where I personally go and take a look at it to implement new ideas in the code, art concepts for people who want to talk about the art. Then for each one of the HashLips repos, so if you go to the HashLips channel and the repo on GitHub, then you can see that each one of these repos has a corresponding channel, and you might find help if you're struggling with one. For instance, the art engine, the questions that you are searching for would most likely be in this channel over here. Lastly, we have some cool channels. We have the Nerdy Coder Clones channel where you can go and verify your Nerdy Coder clone, and if you've bought one, you can go and verify it there. And this will be the community that later on we will have a lot of fun with. Then there's also a SafeLips room, and then a developer jobs channel. The last thing that I want to mention is, guys, I'm trying to build up this developer jobs for blockchain developers in this channel. Feel free to go and post your things, and feel free to go and ask people if you are struggling for their help. There's a lot of friendly people in this community that are more than willing to put their time and effort into your project, helping you succeed. And there's also now an artist jobs page, which I just saw is new. But anyway, we have some live channel chats on Discord, so please feel free to go ahead and do that and join. And lastly, guys, thank you very much. Like I said, you guys are amazing. Thank you for the 7,000 subscribers, for the people who are following this code and are really excited about it, as I am as well. Thank you so much for that. And until the next video, cheers for now.